73,000 BC, Sumatra, Indonesia. A sleeping giant named Toba awakens from a 700,000-year slumber. It unleashes the most explosive volcanic eruption of the past 2 million years.
It would have been the mother of all explosions. People could hear it from thousands of kilometers away.
Toba was 40 times larger than the largest eruption in recorded history, and it probably had 40 times the impact, and that was disastrous.
3,000 times more powerful than Mount St. Helens, Toba sends volcanic debris flying through the air at speeds of up to 60 miles an hour. Everything within 500 miles is doomed.
It's a very violent, fast process. Anything in that area, any form of life, would have been annihilated.
The eruption continues for an entire week. Toba blasts 2,800 cubic kilometers of sizzling magma 30 miles into the atmosphere.
You know the beltway around Washington, D.C., it's about 60 miles around. If we wanted to fill that up with all this rock and ash, it would make a disk a mile high covering the inside of the beltway.
The ash spreads for more than 2,000 miles and buries everything in its path in up to 20 feet of debris.
The dust seems to have traveled about 2/3 of the way across the Indian Ocean to the west, and as far as almost to Taiwan on the east.
The ash begins to block the sun.
You were completely isolated from the sun. You didn't know whether the sun was up or not because there was this very thick cloud of ash in the atmosphere.
With a typical volcano like Mount St. Helens, the effects are felt locally. The initial eruption and the ash it releases are what caused the destruction. But Toba also releases something more deadly: massive amounts of invisible sulfur gases. These gases reach the uppermost layer of the atmosphere, which enables them to travel around the world, setting the stage for this one volcanic eruption to unleash a global catastrophe.
The amount of sulfur dioxide that comes out of the volcano is very important in terms of its impacts. If it's a relatively small amount, it's the kind of thing that the Earth system can deal with and absorb. But if it's a huge amount, then you're talking about major problems.
Major problems like instantaneous and drastic temperature changes.
These sulfur gases converted into particles, we call them sulfuric acid aerosols, and this cloud of particles was blown around the world by the wind and stayed there for several years, blocking out the sun and making it cold and dark at the Earth's surface.
The sulfate particles that are in the stratosphere act as a kind of a sunshade to reflect sunlight away from the Earth and cause cooling.
With the Earth's rays being deflected back to space, global temperatures plummet by as much as 25 degrees Fahrenheit. The entire planet spirals into perpetual winter.
It was this huge climate effect that made it so devastating around the world, not just where the volcano erupted.
Toba has unleashed a worldwide catastrophe, a phenomenon scientists call a volcanic winter.
A volcanic winter is you've got such extreme cooling, it goes throughout the entire year and can go on for several years or decades potentially.
Toba's volcanic winter will be more severe than a nuclear winter produced by 20,000 atomic weapons. The drop in temperature quickly turns lush rainforests into dry wastelands and arid deserts into frozen tundras.
You can imagine a place like Nairobi, snow and frosts throughout most of the year.
Vegetation, unable to adapt to the sudden shift, quickly dries up or freezes. Animals who can't find enough nourishment to sustain themselves perish. With the food chain crumbling, prehistoric humans who rely on hunting and gathering begin to die.
You're sort of living on the edge anyway. You don't have a way to store food. You don't have a supermarket. When you run out of milk, you're working with your environment, and if the balance goes haywire and the normal food supplies disappear or die, then what do? You're in trouble.
At the time of Toba's eruption, there may have been as few as 1 million people inhabiting the planet in parts of Africa and Asia.
There were at least two kinds of people alive at the time of the Toba eruption. There were people who looked under the skin very much like everybody else alive today, and we call them anatomically modern humans. In Western Eurasia, they were people who we call Neanderthals.
But as the planet slips deeper into several years of volcanic winter,